Hello everyone, welcome to today's live webinar. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. I'm Michela Fassi, I'm Communication Manager at Milestone, and I'll be your moderator for today's webinar. Our webinar today is titled 7 Important Parameters to Choose the Right Tissue Processor. During this live event, we will discuss the main factors you should consider when choosing a tissue processor in accordance with your lab-specific needs and workflow. Milestone has been in the field since 30 years. Our mission is to reduce patient anxiety by providing pathologists with technologies for same-day diagnostic results. Today, Milestone is proud to offer innovative solutions in 6 different fields: frozen section, cytology, sample handling, tissue processing, macrodigital, and reagent. Before we get started, I wish to inform you that Milestone organizes these type of webinars once a month, and you can follow us on our LinkedIn and Facebook pages or on our website to stay tuned. Before we start, I kindly ask your attention for a few seconds. In this slide, you can see the main functions of the WebEx platform through which we are broadcasting. Since this webinar is intended to be interactive, we encourage you to ask questions. You can submit questions anytime by typing them in the Q&A box, which is located in the right bottom part of your window. We will answer some questions at the end of the presentation, and for all questions that may not be answered live, we will reply by separate email. The slides will flow automatically during the webinar. If you have any technical problem in viewing or hearing the presentation, please write to the host in the chat box and we will try to support you. Also, you can notice some little icons on the right upper corner of the screen. You can use this icon to adjust the screen display during the webinar, and we suggest the full screen visualization, especially during the demo from the lab. This presentation today will be recorded and will last about 45 minutes. Now, let's take a quick look at today's speaker. The speaker today is Lisa Longaretti, application specialist at Milestone since 7 years. She has a degree in biomedical laboratory techniques and experience in histology research and biobank labs. Now, I really think it's time to start. So, Lisa, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Michela, for the introduction. Good morning or good afternoon to everybody, and welcome to Milestone Laboratory. Today is my pleasure to talk about the tissue processing, and I would like to give you some important tips on how to choose the right processor. Just give me a few seconds and I will share with you my presentation. Now only 2 seconds and I'm sharing my presentation. Just a moment, I'm changing my settings in order to see better the full screen. Okay, now we can start. First of all, I will start with a brief introduction on tissue processing, and we will see one by one which are the key factors you should consider when choosing a tissue processor. After this part, I will show some products live from Milestone laboratory. The processing phase is the center of the laboratory and the fundamental step in the whole chain. The trend is constantly evolving. The choice you made now should foresee your laboratory the needs for the next 10 years. Microscopic analysis of cell and tissues require the preparation of very thin, high-quality section mounted on glass slides and appropriately stained to demonstrate normal and abnormal structures. Tissue processing describes the step required to take human tissue from fixation to the state where it's completely infiltrated with a suitable histological wax and can be embedded, ready for section cutting on microtome. Let me stress the importance of the tissue processing procedure. Any mistake in the schedule or in the protocols can result in the production of tissue specimen that cannot be sectioned and therefore will not provide any useful microscopic information. This can be disastrous if you are dealing, for example, with diagnostic human tissue, where the whole specimen has been processed. You will have no spare tissue and therefore no diagnosis for the patient who is waiting for answers. So it's highly important to perform the correct tissue processing procedure, and it's also essential to have the right tissue processor. Of course, we know that one size does not fit every laboratory. That's why I will show you the 7 most important parameters you should always take into consideration to choose the right instrument for your laboratory space, throughput, and workflow needs. The first parameter to consider is the productivity we want to obtain with tissue processing. This factor will depend on the type of sample we want to process and their size. We should also consider the number of samples to be processed per day and related urgent samples to be managed as soon as they are received in the laboratory. In these regards, rapid processing would be essential to anticipate the timing of the diagnosis. In this way, we can increase productivity and reduce patient waiting time. The second factor to consider is represented by consumables. That is the reagents you will use into the processor. First of all, the reagent chain system of the tissue processor must be safe, easy, and reliable. It's important to have a check-in system that helps the operator to avoid positioning errors and also detects the quality of the reagent used during the processing. Prevent any error that could negatively impact the sample. Also, reagent replacement should be simple and fast, so that the operator doesn't need to spend too much time in changing the reagents. Last but not least, we should consider the economic aspect. The good tissue processor uses less amount of reagent, but also less reagents as possible, in order to optimize laboratory costs. When talking about reagents, it's also important to consider the safety aspect of the reagent. The right tissue processor must have a fume extraction system that can be connected to a central laboratory system or a system of filters that prevent the emission of harmful vapors. This is essential to protect the operator self in the working environment. I also would like to stress that the use of green reagents can have a significant impact on reducing disposal costs. Another suggestion is to use isopropanol as a substitute for xylene. In this way, we will extend significantly the life of the wax. Number 4, safety is not only for the user, but also for the specimens. The samples are unique and are repeatable. This is certainly a fundamental aspect. Your tissue processor must have automatic procedure that allow to keep the sample safe in case of electrical faults during the processing. Prevent technical failures or human errors from that could have negative effect on the sample. It's also important to have an automatic notification system that alerts the operator of what is happening. The processing programs are another important parameter to consider. The right tissue processor should have fast program for processing small biopsy on one end and long program for processing bigger sample on the other, including dedicated programs for fatty tissues. The processing programs must be easy to understand, and the operator should have the possibility to edit and customize the protocols. And what if you could include embedding in the processing step? This is something unique that I will show you in the practical part. Traceability has become a fundamental topic within the laboratory workflow. It's extremely important to know where a case is, how it was processed, the times and temperature of exposure of the sample to the various reagents. The right tissue processor allows the traceability of the sample in order to have complete documentation of each case and also to undertake corrective or improvement actions when necessary. Through your tissue processor and the tracking system, you should also be able to easily extrapolate reagent consumption data, as well as to have statistics of the number of the cassette processed. This will be very useful for the head of the laboratory. Finally, flexibility is another parameter to be considered. Your tissue processor should be flexible, as you usually have a great variability of sample to be processed, such as bone tissue, small biopsy, fatty tissue, and so on. Also, operators usually use different types of cassettes, like super mega or super mega slim cassettes. And in terms of flexibility, your tissue processor should allow you to process with lean loading to reduce idle time and optimize your workflow. The processor must adapt to the laboratory and not the opposite. And here I would like to sum up together the 7 important parameters for choosing the right tissue processor. Now, having this in mind, we will see them apply in our lab. I would like to show you some of the solutions that Milestone has engineered to fulfill all the needs. And now, let's move to the Milestone laboratory. Here with me, you can see the main solution of a Milestone tissue processing line. I suggest to use the full screen mode. Use the icon in the right upper corner of your screen. Our tissue processors are equipped with the hybrid heating core that is based on a microwave plus conventional heating technique. Now let's see how the 7 parameters are applied in our processor. First of all, productivity. Here we have our COS multifunctional processor, where you can process up to 110 cassettes. Here we have 2 automatic processors designed for achieving high productivity levels. In Logos and in Magnus, you can process up to 300 cassettes, standard cassettes, or super mega cassettes. These are the fastest tissue processor in the market. Thanks to the hybrid heating core, for example, small urgent biopsy can be processed in as little as 45 minutes, including fixation. This can dramatically improve the daily workflow of your lab. And plus, the presence of 2 cavities allow the lean loading of the batch. As for the reagent, we said that it's important to have a checking system. In our processor, Logos and Magnus, we can activate the control of the reagent during the replacement. Through the software, it's possible to check the reagent type, its position, and enter the lot code. In Magnus, there is also an ultrasonic reagent sensor that checks the purity of the alcohol-based reagent and detects reagents that are exhausted or contaminated by water. This is very important for the dehydration phase. The change of reagent is very simple and fast. You only need to insert the 5-liter commercial tank. Now I show you an example. And how is the way to change the reagent? I take out the connector, I take out the exhaust reagent, and now I put the new one. So I scan the code of the reagent, I insert the tank in the reagent drawer, I insert the connector, and after I confirm the position of the reagent. In less than 10 seconds, the replacement is completed. As for user safety, all of our instruments have a fume extraction system, both near the cavities, here and inside here, and also in the reagent drawer. In this way, the operator can work safely. Behind each instrument, there is a fume extraction pipe, and it is also possible to apply a filter with or without the fume extraction system in the laboratory. Also, all our line was specifically designed to operate with xylene-free, which is the main source of dangerous vapors in the lab. Using green reagent can also reduce disposal cost and significantly extend the life of the paraffin. As mentioned before, not only the safety for the user, but also the safety for the sample is extremely important. Let's make an example. While you are processing several samples and there is an expected power failure in the lab, in this case, in Milestone tissue processor, a safety procedure is activated to keep the sample always immersive in the correct reagent. This is possible thanks to a UPS attached to the machine. Our safety feature has been designed to avoid compromised sample in the event of human or instrumental error during loading and unloading reagents. For example, in Magnus, we have a high sensitive sensor which detects the correct quality of the solution and also discriminates the correct category of reagent loading. Moreover, the internal splitted manifold physically divides the water-based reagent from alcohol-based reagent. In this way, we don't risk mixing reagent even in case of technical issues. Thanks to the MyWatch software, it's also possible to activate voice call, SMS, WhatsApp message, and email to be notified immediately in the event of an alarm. Now let's talk about the processing protocols. All our units have predefined and optimized programs on board for various samples, from small biopsy to larger and fatty samples. These protocols have been developed and optimized through 25 years of experience and international collaboration. According to your lab needs and workflow, it's possible to modify all protocol and also to save the program in your favorites page. Here, I would like to stress a unique feature of Milestone tissue processing, that is the possibility to include the embedding step during the processing phase. This is possible thanks to the Synergy system, Synergy technology from Milestone. Thanks to a dedicated rack and the consumable, we can perform processing plus embedding in one step. Here you can see the cassettes with the sample ready for cutting, already embedded. Now I change the camera and I zoom. In this way you can see better the MindWatch software. MindWatch is a software connected to the Milestone units designed for surveillance and traceability. Thanks to this software, you can trace each patient case during processing and integrate this information to the LIS. MindWatch also provides live statistic of the number of processed cassettes and also allow the lab manager to monitor the processing step in real time. You can see how many samples are being processed in a precise moment and how many samples are ready for the embedding. This is really useful in order to manage the workflow in the lab. Finally, in your lab, you need a flexible tool to process different samples according to specific needs. In course, you can process sample with rapid protocol, and it's also possible to decalcify and process bone tissue. In Logos and in Magnus, process sample up to super mega cassettes, so from small biopsies to 10 mm or more. Our automatic tissue processor, Logos and Magnus, can process with lean loading and automatic run. And this is one of the most important features in every laboratory to optimize the workflow. As a plus, in Magnus, there is also a WOX reservoir, so that the WOX is automatically refilled when the level is lower and carry out the complete replacement without any stop of the unit. In this way, the unit is always ready and you don't have to stop your workflow to refill the WOX and wait the melting time. Our processors are also flexible in terms of reagent to be used. On board, there are programs that use ethanol, isopropanol, isoparaffin, and xylene. And with this, I conclude. I really do hope that my demonstration has been clear and useful for everybody. And now I'm ready for answering your question.
Thank you, Lisa, for your presentation. It's now time for questions, and I have already received some. If you have any other question, now it's the time to type them in the Q&A box. So first question for you, Lisa. There is a user who says, I would like to avoid the use of xylene in my laboratory. What would you suggest as a substitute?
Like a substitute, isopropanol is the common substitute of xylene. It's green and safe. But another suggestion is our reagents, Mile1 and Mile2. They were designed by Milestone to get consistent processing. So Mile1 is an alcohol solution for the dehydration, and that is recommended for use with Mile2 for clearing, a mixture of alcohol and long-chain hydrocarbons, which is very effective in processing adipose tissues.
Okay, let's read another question about Magnus. How many tanks can I use in Magnus?
In Magnus, you can insert up to 9 tanks. But for the processing, you need only 7 tanks. So you can put other spare reagent in position number 8 and 9. In this way, when, for example, ethanol expired, automatically the software will use the new reagents, avoiding the immediate action of the user.
Okay, now there's a question which says, which are the main differences between Magnus and Logos?
Okay. Logos and Magnus are both automatic processor and both allow the lean loading. The big difference is that Magnus has been added the robotic movement. So the 2 robotic arms allow the processing from fixation to wax impregnation in independent way and also allow the lean loading.
Thank you, Lisa. Now there's a question about the auto-embedding technology. Is it available only in Magnus?
No. Synergy is available also for Logos. So Synergy is compatible with Magnus and also for Logos. And thanks to the specifically rack and specifically consumable. This topic is take more time to show you the complete explanation, to have the complete explanation. So if you are interested in a demonstration of Synergy system, please contact us in order to dedicate a virtual demo only for the Synergy.
Okay, I think we have time to read one more question. You talked about bone tissues. How can I get a decalcification with Milestone unit?
As I explained you before, in COS is our multifunctional processor, and in COS you can perform the decalcification and processing. And so you understand that it's very flexible device, so you can decalcify bone tissue and also process the bone tissue. You can also process all kinds of tissue. In regards of this device, of course, I remember you a date of 27th of May, where a dedicated webinar will be done.
Thank you, Lisa, for all your explanation. Now I see that time is running out, so for all the questions that have not been answered live, we will reply by separate email. Now let me share one final slide with some useful information for you. Of course, we would like to thank you everybody for watching and participating today. If you have any question left, or if you want to receive any material from us, please do not hesitate to contact us. Also, as Lisa already told you, you can contact us to organize a virtual demo customized to your needs. Our application specialist will be happy to provide demonstrations, consultations, solutions through face-to-face conversations with live webcams. So you could virtually enter in our lab as you've seen today. This webinar will be available for on-demand reviewing starting from tomorrow. You will receive an email message with the link for the recording. Also, if you wish to keep up to date with Milestone, new live events, we suggest to check our website and to follow us on our social networks. On the slides, you can see the next events, which are planned for the 15th of April and the 27th of May. Registrations are already open, so you can book your seat for the live event. Thank you again for your attendance today. We hope to see you all next time. Goodbye and arrivederci.
Thank you for your participation and goodbye.